Bang! Hello! Welcome!
Hello.
I don't... maybe you should or should not keep that in. I don't know. Keep that in. We're back. Overclock Workshop. It's my favourite weapon in the game. It's my favourite.
Is it?
No.
That's what you said in the interview with 11,000.
No, I didn't, did I? But if we're actually able to keep this brief, then we should be able to actually not... We should be able to say something. As in, I think, the Wave Cooker's got one of the best selections of overclocks, probably, in the game. But it's kind of...
It's up there.
That makes... But it needs to. Same with the mods, because it's really, without its mods or its overclocks, it's not really anything. Which, you could make the argument for literally every weapon, but it applies to the Wave Cooker. Like, so much more so. It's made what it... In every iteration of it, it's made what it is by its overclocks and mods.
That's really the case with all of the secondaries, though. They are probably garbage tier. But the second you start putting like tier 5 mods and some overclocks on them, then you get like god tier weapons.
But you don't fully change like the Sabata's function. The Wave Cooker has multiple different like entire versions of it that are dictated by what you use on it. And
primary?
There's no exception here. Well, the unstables are definitely that, but maybe not the others. Anyway, if you're watching this, you probably know how this works by now. But I will explain very quickly nonetheless. We each present a clean, balanced, and unstable overclock for the item in question, and then pass away. Let's begin with my clean overclock. Flashlight, which was... For a while, this was actually... not even outdated, just straight up wrong. Because it was based on a mechanic that the Wave Cooker already had. It was originally the beam would get wider as it goes, further away, which it doesn't. As it stands, like the default Wave Cooker, the beam doesn't get wider than what it says. That's just its maximum width. It starts lower than what it says. But my idea was that it would go even wider, but I didn't realise that was a mechanic at all. So I decided to just scrap it. But it's called Flashlight, though, because it is actually about light, right? And you'll see, because it lights stuff up better. It's a much stronger illumination effect is literally a point of this. But also, to not make that completely pointless, I implemented a very bizarre utility function where you can fire it without consuming ammo as long as you're not hitting something that it could damage, which could be an enemy or like a plant that you could destroy with weapons. If it's not hitting something like that, then it actually doesn't consume ammo, so you can just use it like a flashlight. And it also I guess that makes it very smart, because that's the thing. I implemented this utility knowing it would have something to do with combat, as in you could spray into a horde of enemies, and if it gets like between them, it's not going to waste ammo. If you happen to be missing, you can just spray at enemies and make sure you're always hitting. So I knew that would come from it. So it's sort of a split, and really, when I think about it, I don't know how much I care for the Wave Cooker actually being an actual flashlight, but I think it's interesting nonetheless. And making it essentially a smart weapon, where it only consumes ammo when it needs to, is an interesting idea. I have no idea if it's actually what it actually means, if it's even good, or if it is good, if it's overpowered. I really don't know, but it's still a clean, I think. That's the thing.
Well, as long as there's no negatives, it always comes under clean. But having something that prevents you from wasting ammo is immeasurably strong in this game.
But is it actually for the Wave Cooker?
The ammo economy on the Wave Cooker is not exactly amazing if you use it poorly.
But would you say it's like the only weapon where that kind of thing makes sense?
Ooh,
I think.
Well, I think maybe
because even the shard diffractor is a bit too physical, I think. there's something very non-physical about the wave cooker, where I feel like it sort of like detects what it hits almost, and then it can stop itself from firing if it's not hitting anything worth hitting. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I think maybe there is a more reasonable version of it that probably isn't a clean, but it would have like, I don't know, just decreased flow or like rate of fire. So while it is consuming ammo, it consumes at like a tenth of the rate if you're actually not hitting anything. So you can still like use it as a light, but
Yeah.
it's not, free, because it's not free damage, but it's, I don't know, it's kind of weird.
It is pretty weird, and like I said, this one was sort of. Well, I didn't say it was thrown together at the last minute, but it kind of was, because I just had to change. I had to change it to something else. I wasn't really happy with either my clean or my balanced, so I thought I'd have to come up with something. But I don't think it's devoid of value, and I think if something like this were to exist, the wave cooker is the weapon it makes the most sense for, at least.
Yeah. Although it might, as sad as it would say, it might, decrease the usefulness of the flares on scouts, flare gun. Which is saying something.
Well, no, not necessarily. It probably, yeah, it could, but it's like, what are the chances of a scout's always going to have his flare gun? What are the chances that you're going to be in a mission with someone who's using this?
Kind of then begs the question, why use this then if the scout's always going to have one?
Well, you probably wouldn't, unless the utility side, like the combat utility, is actually very significant.
Yeah, which
is why it should probably be more powerful.
The flashlight.
It should probably be. Well, maybe you could cut out the actual illumination part and take the other part of it and make it more powerful, but balanced. Yeah, probably. Although I'm probably not going to chase it up for the final pitch though either. I kind of just wanted to use this symbol. I kind of like it as well.
It's a cute one.
But it was based on it getting wider. Whoa, you're obtuse.
That's very rude.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, I'm not sure what else with much to say. It's a clean. There are no negatives here.
But there might,
literal terms.
Not that there should be as it is, but as it is, it should probably be better and then be followed up with by adding some negatives.
Maybe, I don't know, like overclock power saving mode, and it if you're not shooting, if your beams are like missing, they just consume less ammo. Like, so maybe if you're only hitting a glyphid with like a quarter of your beams or whatever that you'll raise, it won't consume as much ammo, yet it does as much damage. I don't know, just something like that. Just maybe just lightens the ammo consumption of your thing, and maybe slows heat production because you're on low power mode. There's something there, but I'm not sure a flashlight is that something. But I think it is a clean. I don't know.
I do like the idea of power saving mode. I think that's quite funny.
Yeah.
But
for now,
move on.
Yeah. To my one. Yay!
Wow.
I don't know what came over me, although I think I can guess by my little description comment bit at the bottom. But I decided to add more shot.
I think my mouse is on the screen. Actually, it might not be. I don't know.
I just added more shot with, because I don't actually think there's an overclock that adds it.
There isn't an overclock, that's right. And it's really only one upgrade. Yeah. Well, there's two upgrades, actually.
That's mainly because, they don't actually need to be an overclock, because the upgrades are enough. But I'm like, you know what? Gap in the market. Let's slap this as a claim. And so, 50 more shot width, which is like, should be half of the first mod increase, but I think that one's glitched and it says it only does one, and I think it might actually only do one. I
think it does actually. That number is accurate as far as I know.
Yeah, and they just haven't got around to do it.
So we're adding this to counteract that bug.
Yeah, And then plus, it should have the added effect of maybe just having a stupidly huge radius, which should be fun.
Well, I feel like they didn't really go for that, and I really wish they did. Like an unstable where it's literally everything on your screen, But at the same time, I think where we can make this, it's valuable as just like a bonus mod, just substantiating existing mods or substituting for existing mods. But we could give it some like genuine value where this could either be what it is, like, as in we take away the added shot width and just make it what I'm about to suggest, or you could even add this on, where it would. I like the idea of the wave cooker be able to start at maximum shot width, and that came from me finding out that it doesn't. I thought, well, what if we had an overclock? That's what we just discussed, where the flashlight was originally that it would get wider as it goes out, but it already does that because it doesn't start at the shot width it says.
Right.
Because how could it? Because the shot width is wider than the gun itself. But I think that should still be a thing. Works? Yeah.
Because I know that the wave cooker, it's like I don't know what the term is. I do, but I can't remember it. It's like shot area icon in the middle of your screen. It represents like the actual size of your like cone. It should be a cone. It should come out of your gun and then head out.
Yeah, it's a cone, exactly. Not. But no, it is. It is a cone. That's the point. It is actually a cone.
No, it's not. It's a tube.
No, that's what I want it to be, but it's not. That's why you can't hit things that are right next to you at close range.
The Lazy Maybes video.
No. You interpret that information the opposite of what it is.
No. When things are close range, you can hit things outside of your hit box thing because they are, the cone is closer to you, so it's bigger. But things far away, they can be well within your. Really wish I could remember the name for it, like this thing on your screen. They can be well within that, and you will not hit them.
Wait a minute, it's like a reverse cone.
No, it's just a toilet roll. That's all it is. But the size of a toilet roll is taken at 5 meters in front of you. So anything closer than that, the toilet roll is actually bigger than the visual, and anything further away, it's smaller. But the cone stays the same size, but it's not the same size as what it would be to scale, basically. Like the circle you see is the size of a cone within 5 meters from you, not the size, or it is the size of a cone as well, like miles away, infinite range, but not to scale with what you see. It's confusing, and he represents it very well in the video.
I should probably. I've watched that 3 times.
I think it's the addendum one after.
Right.
Is how he explains how it works.
I haven't watched that 3 times.
Yeah, it's pretty weird. But this would just kind of make that circle bigger, basically like the firing mode and the first mod should. And yeah, it just makes a bigger fire shot. And I feel like we shouldn't have got into how more people know how the wave cooker works.
We could have just moved on, but we weren't going to get much discussion from this as it is. If we wanted to talk about something, that was better. But yeah, well, I said this is as it is. It's just to add on to existing mods or substitute for them, and that's fine. Even if I would really want to see a crazy shot width one for an unstable, but
yeah. I mean, that's what 80% of cleans are at the end of the day. Sometimes you'll have the ones like special powder or whatever, but then you'll have ones that just add one damage and 3 ammo, or just very petty little shit. This is actually a bit more substantial, but it's only in one thing.
Overclock adds 3 ammo for the minigun. Be hilarious.
Effectively 1.5.
So yeah, let's not dote on things that don't beg further discussion.
Let's move on to what does.
I don't. Oh god. Yeah. This. So my balanced overclock overcompensator. This. Well, I should be happy with this because I wasn't happy with what it was before. I had to change it.
I have what was before, so this should be interesting.
Oh yeah. Overcompensator. So, it's definitely a half-baked idea, and I can't really tell what like the original idea was that I liked. It sort of just became worse than whatever that was. And yeah, actually, I was thinking about it. I really don't know what the point of this one is. Sometimes we can just talk about it. So it does increase shot width. It's also got like a massively increased ammo capacity. But yeah, I think this was supposed to be one of those weird ammo ones, a bit like the rewiring mod on the Drac. You know, where you have to like shoot a certain amount and then you get ammo back. It's not like that, but it's in the same lane, which is a bit of a weird way of getting a lot of ammo. Because I've written brackets for the increased ammo capacity. It's got a question mark at the end, and it's like plus 500 or 1,000, like between that or something. But the point is, you use more, like, what?
Small range. Yeah.
I know, right? Yeah. The range is literally bigger than, like, the wave cooker's ammo.
Yeah.
And then, of course, also increased shot width, like plus 75, so you're going to be hitting a lot more stuff as well. But the point is, you use more ammo for each enemy that you're hitting. So, it was really a case of, this would be like a balancing act, overclock. And while I did say it was a half-baked idea, I think I'd probably like it more than something like rewiring, where you're forced to use a certain amount of ammo to get the ammo back. In this case, you sort of just have to make the choice. If you're going to hit a lot of enemies, you're going to lose a lot of ammo. But yeah, it's really weird because that's also how you have to use it, because you also deal a lot less damage to single targets. So you don't just have like a monstrous battery capacity that you can use to pick off every grunt you see. It's like -4 direct damage, but that disappears when you're hitting more than one enemy. But then you use more ammo when you're hitting more than an enemy. It's one ammo for each enemy that you're hitting, basically. You use more. And I will say, once again, half-baked idea, meaning I don't put much stock in it, but I'd still probably like it more than something like rewiring.
Or your old one, which I'm looking at.
Yeah.
Which,
don't add more time onto this by bringing up an overclock that doesn't exist. Hold on, that's the whole series.
Oh no. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think you know my opinion of those mods. They kind of piss me off. I prefer simpler things.
I know, exactly. And like,
ammo.
Mega Power Supply already exists as well.
Yeah.
Which is like one of the best ammo
very good
overclocks like, in the game.
Yeah. And I don't know.
But would it perhaps be more interesting if we perhaps melded our two balances?
Well, yeah, because I noticed that. Did you come up? You must have come up that after I come out with mine. So that's interesting. My one is crowd pleaser.
What? Wait, what? Hold on.
What?
Okay, you know what? If you don't want to talk about this one much more, that's okay with me.
I mean, you mentioned melding it. It'll get both of them out there because that's what we tend to do when they're kind of similar. So then we try and
they're
mix them
not
around.
That similar, but they could be.
They're playing with the same concept.
In a roundabout way.
Crowd pleaser, damage, as you can tell. For every enemy, oh god, that's not a sentence. The rays are in contact with increase damage by 1.
That's fine.
Okay, it does work.
Kind of.
With a bit of heat generation, so you can't shoot for that long, and a shotgun to your ammo supply. Yeah, it's basically you kind of want AoE. You want to line up like a stupid amount of horde, and then you'll probably just do an immense amount of damage. And that's kind of the goal of it, basically, to just do burst amounts to high amounts of target at like a single instance, basically.
Yeah, and this is why I brought up melding, because I think there are aspects of both that would create a better feeling thing overall. Well, first of all, my one added shot width, and I think this is the kind of overclock that, well, it would obviously benefit from that, but You can question whether or not it should have that. I think there's possibly, if you were to add something like that, you're really going for that thing, the AoE, and like doing shit tons of damage. So maybe it should be an unstable. But then, the ammo thing, where it's like I added like 500 to 1,000 ammo. And this is where my idea really came from for melding the two, where it's like it increases the ammo consumption based on how many enemies you're hitting, but it's also adding that damage on as well. You're doing much more damage in a shorter space of time against a lot more enemies because you're using more ammo, and that's why you would have a lot more ammo to compensate as well. So I think something exists in between, probably leaning towards. Well, actually, my preference would be leaning a bit more towards mine, but taking the base concept of yours and just adding more things on it from mine.
I think you acknowledge that your one is just a more complicated, ammo one. But there really isn't one that uses the collette's damage, just damage, and just tries and kills things. Yeah. There is not an overclock that does that.
No, that's not really true. It's got that clean one where you do like 50% more damage at close range.
Shut up! Don't pull up a clean, and especially that one, which I swear to God, I'm pretty sure they're just like nothing.
It feels like it does nothing. Blistering Necrosis doesn't do nothing either, but that's an
indirect direct damage.
Yeah, but for Driller himself, it benefits the Wave Cooker more than anything, and that's like single target damage too. This would be the big AoE damage, which is kind of meant to come from like the temperature shock build, but we want to use the Wave Cooker's damage itself, and you combine this then obviously with Boiler Ray, which is the self-dependent tier 5 mod, and you would have like
basically
a monster.
It is just a Colette Wave Cooker high AoE damage build, which it has with playing along with other tools and stuff that it has in its arsenal, but on its own it doesn't really have it, and it would then allow a more like single target primary if you want it,
if that's possible.
Well, you've got like Ice Spear. Yeah.
Damn. Sludge Blast. Oh. Face Melter. Ah.
I don't know. You get the point. I don't know. I would. Well, I was gonna say I'd like use this against a Dreadnought, but then I realized it wouldn't actually be that good against a Dreadnought. Yeah. But I was gonna say it's really just grunt swarms. That should be like the only thing it's inherently good against. I guess also Macteras, probably like a grouped up Mactera horde.
I did notice the problem with mine though that I was going to bring up, and it's because adding so much ammo, because it doesn't matter if you do less damage to an enemy that's on its own. When you're adding that much ammo, that makes the temperature shock build like way more ridiculous indirectly.
Yeah, it's a bit like hipster. Like it will eventually gets to a point where it doesn't really matter what it's trying to do. It's just too much ammo to turn down. It doesn't. You can kind of just work with it no matter what.
Yeah, but Wave Cooker supply, Mega Power supply is almost that anyway. Although I am a big fan of the Wave Cooker's unstables. I think they have their place in place of Mega Power supply quite often, and I think our unstables are no exception.
So are we? I don't think we really come to something, but like.
I think for the final pitch, I probably am going to meld these two, try and come up with something decent.
Looking at more of I don't know. I think it'd be interesting to have it be better with more things in its area. Generally, that's something we both agree on with these.
Yeah, which is why, given that fact, I'm going to take it and run with it, and you'll see it at a later time, because we're on the clock.
Yeah.
Right. My unstable Painkiller. Actually, there's no point prefacing this. It's as in I can explain certain things easier once the information's on the screen. So deals instance of damage for each stats effect. I don't like that wording. Deals an instance of damage for each stats effect enemies are afflicted with. That's a bit awkward. that being 100 damage. It removes enemy stat effects on contact and much slower rate of fire. Immediately, we're going to need to do something with the penalties. But what I was going to preface this with is that this was basically half as strong as it is now. At one point, it was originally 50 damage, and that's because I'd sort of, I wouldn't say gotten wrong, but I think about things much more so from a solo perspective. And when I really thought about it, Driller, take an individual build. Obviously Driller has a lot of status effects. He has fire, ice, and corrosion, but you're never going to be doing those at the same time. Really, the number of status effects you can apply is not as much as it, always seems. Especially when you're on your own.
Well,
it was originally based on stacking up status effects so that you could get a lot out of it just doing 50 damage. Yes, but not in a way that works with this.
Because you can.
No, because the puddles wouldn't work. That's not a status effect, really. You can't remove that because it's them being in the puddle on the sludge pump. That it wouldn't work on that. It wouldn't work on neurotoxin grenades because they're just being affected while they're in it. It's not as actually really them having the status effect. What?
That I mean, it feels like a necessary thing, but that's also dumb because to be honest, I like that a little bit. But what if they're like in a corrosion puddle or in the neurotoxin cloud? It doesn't count as they're being afflicted with it.
Well, it might do. No, I think it does. I think it does, but I don't see how you'd be able to remove it. Yes, but
then it's just going to be one of those things. It's going to be one of the another broken thing to the wave cooker where you'd just be able to
if it's possible, it wouldn't work with the puddles. The real point of this, when I realised that I wanted to increase the damage because I realised what I wanted it to be was essentially an all-purpose temperature shock. As in, it can either buff that build, or you can use it like temperature shock for the sludge pump. So the ideal version of it would entail it not working
How much damage
on the puddles.
Temperature shock use?
200. So This is why it's more, I think, a little bit more for the sludge pump, because with the temperature shock build, you use exothermic reactor, which spreads the temperature shock effect around it. You would only be doing the 100 damage to like the enemy you're hitting directly. This isn't like an effect that you're spreading. So it really it buffs the single target aspect of the temperature shock build. You're not going to be dealing 300 damage to every enemy that you temperature shock. And then also obviously it was made a little bit more the sludge pump in mind, but I think it's viable for both. You can sort of. And I don't think it would be like an obvious pick for temperature shock builds because, like I said, it's only going to do this extra damage to the thing you're hitting directly. Not everything that the normal temperature shock build hits, where it spreads that effect around. So it's not. I don't think it's like an obvious pick necessarily. But yeah, there is the question of what status effects it applies to, obviously, because like.
I think you got to bear in mind, Harry, the temperature shock of the Cullet Wave Cooker is very strong for like all the obvious reasons, but it's mainly very strong because you can use mega power supply, and you can be immensely ammo efficient while using temperature shock. You can deal tons of damage while having tons of ammo, and this isn't really going to do either. Like, you're going to have to keep reapplying the status effects, not to mention you'll lose the status effects, which, may not be the worst thing in the world if you get the damage done after all, but like, corrosion, it has the slowdown effect, which you kind of want to keep.
Yeah, but you can use it, not straight away. You can let the corrosion do its work, and then, just before it finishes,
Sure, but it's still going to be... Generally, you'll do less damage because most of the time you're going to have, what is it? The thing is, if they're corroded, you can add neurotoxin, right? That's the mod.
Yeah.
Tier 5. Okay, so, you would have to shoot them with this to do that, right? So that means you're only ever going to actually have corrosion on them. because you can't apply the neurotoxin without applying this effect that would strip them.
No.
of the corruption.
No. This is where the puddles do
you
come
do
into
it-
play, because the puddles count for that mod. So if and this overclock wouldn't remove the puddle effect, because that would be broken if it could work with the puddles, obviously. So that's not a thing. So they're still under the influence of the puddles, and that works for spreading the neurotoxin.
Sure, but like these are so many like just circles and alleyways just to get to a result that is worse than the temperature shock build, because it's less ammo efficient, because you will have less ammo. You're most likely most of the time going to be doing less damage, and not to mention slower fire rate, and it removes the status effect, which I mean I guess temperature shock kind of does do that too, but you know it really doesn't. You could temperature shock and have him affected by all the other stuff. I mean, I guess the damage this could do with teammates is an argument that there's something strong there.
Well, yeah, if you have a neurotoxin gunner, you could obliterate dreadnoughts.
Neurotoxin gunner, electrifying scout with taser shots, pheromones.
I mean, that's the thing,
that
though, isn't it? Yeah, so this is what I see as being the main problem that I can't really disagree with, because something like taser bolts, it couldn't work with it can't work with stationary, constant status effect apply sources.
Yeah, because I mean, if you
broken, so it couldn't work with taser bolts, it couldn't work with
taser bolt,
grenades.
Puddle under it, like a neurotoxin cloud, and that would constantly lose and regain 3 status effects. Right? There's probably more examples.
So this would be better if it was just on a cooldown.
Sure, but then there are no other abilities that do that, right?
Or it would use ammo on the wave. No, it would use ammo on the wave cooker to do it. That's probably better.
Sure, but now it's even less ammo efficient. Now it's even worse on that regard.
Then you make it stronger.
So it's really, this is supposed to be like a single target, basically boss, just breaking overclock.
Yeah, or
which
mini boss.
With you, fucking fellas are already doing that. Little tumors, the blisters.
Yeah, but this is sort of the other way round of that,
already.
where you need to do something else to the enemy with your other weapons, and then you pull out the WAF cooker.
But your other weapons aren't good.
Yeah, in that through a dreadnought, sure, because then you would have to use the surge pump to get any value out of this.
And then your neurotoxin grenade, and it will still be pretty strong, but it's, I don't know. I feel that you're going through so many hoops to make this good that there's no point when it's really just going to be a more niche, worse version of what's part of the gun inherently. I don't I get the need to include the sludge pump, but don't you think that what it currently has going for it, then that with the sludge pump you can create a fucking status effect god machine? You can just afflict him with everything under the sun with the radiation, and with teammates. That surely, I know you want to do that and then gain an obscene amount of damage coming out of it, but yeah, I don't know. I think you're trying to force something that isn't worth doing. I know it's still probably a fun idea, and that's the point of the series, but generally, as we've established many times before, I'm fond of actually creating ideas that could be added, where there is no rational reason why they should put in this much effort and have to create such walls and boundaries and this would work but this can't, for something that's just going to be a worse result than what's literally just in the gun from the get-go. Just a tier 5 mod would accomplish the same thing as this.
No, but you would use it
with a
to
lot less
add
effort.
on to that. It wouldn't just replace the temp shock build. That's not the point of it at all.
Well, but you want to use it for the sludge pump.
Yes.
Which you can't do the temperature build with the sludge pump.
No.
Okay. So what's your goal with this overclock, Harry?
To make it so that you can have something that feels like temperature shock for the sludge pump, or add on to the strength of the actual temperature shock build.
Do you not think the temperature shock build is strong enough as is, and
Um,
all it really needs, it doesn't
no,
need,
but this is more specifically for because the temperature shock build is obviously good against pretty much everything, but I can see value in something that makes it even better for single target damage specifically, like against things like oppressors. And actually, I think you can one shot wardens with temperature shock, but like Praetorians, you still have to like do it like 3 times on hazard 5.
yeah.
If you could bring that down to
just, like, throw an
2,
axe.
that would feel pretty good. Yeah, if you're using cryo, you could just throw an X. That's true.
Like,
That's true.
I don't know. I just like I get it, but like I don't know. I think what the sludge pump has on the wave cooker is fine. I mean, I don't know. I think this is just a not particularly good way of solving that issue.
Yeah, and honestly, to be honest, I kind of use gamma contamination universally anyway. Right?
Yeah.
I use that with the temperature shock build as well to like finish things off. So, I guess it is useless. Damn, that's crazy. No, but I do really like the idea of this very
Like,
base concept, but
yeah, like I get.
where its place in the
good.
game is, I couldn't tell you, to be honest.
Yeah, I get. I do like being able to then do high burst status effect damage. With
Maybe a
something that isn't
grenade!
temperature shock. Yeah,
Because
but,
then you
like,
could use gamma contamination as well, and then you'd have like 5 status effects on the same enemy, and you throw a grenade at it, and it does like 600 damage. There you go.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is that this is generally like as a driller, it will be worse than your other options. But then if you have other players that are playing alongside this, it'll be completely broken.
Yeah.
Like it'll be game breakingly broken if played well enough, and just worse than the other options most of the time. And the game developers will have to really try and hit the right balance, and it just won't be worth it because it really is just going to be the same result as temperature shock most of the time. And I don't know. Yeah, it just won't be worth it to like add.
Yeah, maybe not. I would...
Fuck you.
Oh, this is the one I was really proud of.
Well,
This is why I need you though, because otherwise I won't see my faults.
yeah, and
But
I
it hasn't
just gaslight
worked.
into believing that they're.
Yeah, but it hasn't worked so far. Clearly,
Yeah,
I haven't got any
you
better.
have yet to stay down. You keep coming back up with. I mean, this is not as bad as some of the other ones, but you do seem to one up yourself like every 1 in 3. It'll be
It's a
like, oh, this
subconscious
is
goal.
actually worse than your last one. But yeah, no, this is fine. I get the impulse. I think it's good, but like actually adding it to the game,
You understand the
I think
masculine urge that drives me to create this.
yeah, I think that adding it to the game will be a very dumb idea. So
Sick.
yeah,
Well,
thank you. Speaking of dumb ideas,
I
I did actually in everything that I've said, I've pulled a real Harry with this one. Oh, I went for roast dinner. I couldn't remember what I
microwave meal, which is what it should have been, really.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like earlier, like I hope I called it that, but I'm like, no, I don't remember calling it that. I don't remember what I think. Yeah, but you could probably tell what it is by the name and mainly the icon.
How? No,
But,
okay. I'm going to stop you there. There's no way someone would be able to guess like exactly what it is.
Well, the negatives, sure, but
Even the
normally,
specificity of the positive.
oh, even
I'd
then,
wager.
every medium-sized plus enemy killed gives you +2 health. And now I'm going to go into this a bit after the on fire, but for now we'll just get the negatives out of the way. Width down, so you can't kill as many enemies at the same time. Probably should be a higher width decrease. rate of fire slow down, so it's not good at actually just killing things, and overheating kind of screws you over, which I think are not bad negative effects generally. Like I think the width could probably do with going up, but basically it makes it very hard to just straight up kill things with the wave cooker. Like this is going to be a very finisher tool, and if you try and push it too far, it'll punish you pretty badly with the overheat duration.
So,
but
well, obviously the thing that needs to be immediately addressed is the brackets, because as good as this would be, you can't just restrict it to the flamethrower, unfortunately.
Well, that's kind of my thing, right? I like this in that it is an element of the temperature shock build, which not temperature shock build, sorry, the vampire build, the immortal driller build, which I fucking love.
So this will be the long range version.
Yeah, well, this will be because his secondaries don't really play into that at all, and this will. But I kind of, when I was making it, I was like thinking about it. I'm like, cryo, if they're frozen, you can drill them, axe them, pickaxe them. Generally, they're weak to it. So cryo is the inherent best thing for this build, right? Obviously, that much is kind of known. But like, if you didn't want to use the cryo, but you wanted to use the vampire and have a vampire build, this would encourage that they're on fire. And I am aware that then will exclude the sludge pump, but also it's kind of gimmicky that it's like food. You're cooking food. If they're already on fire, makes sense. But yeah, because I don't know, I think it will be interesting that if you're using cryo, you have to use melee. But if you're using fire, you can have a longer range vampire kind of stuff. And obviously will have the melee aspect to it, but not entirely. So I think it will kind of change up. It will vary your vampire build.
Nice,
the safer flamethrower option.
Nice truck reversing sound effects you got there.
Yeah, there was a plane as well. I don't know which one you heard. Point is, I don't know. Plus, I never actually thought about it until as I was speaking out loud, that it will be kind of broken with temperature shock.
No, it wouldn't.
For some reason, I didn't.
It wouldn't, because I would assume that how this would work mechanically is that you would have to kill something with the direct damage from the wave cooker.
Boom!
Right?
Yeah, that'll do it. Yeah. Well, that's my thought.
It's dealing a separate damage type.
Yeah.
It's not direct damage. It's not temperature shocks. It's not the wave cooker's own damage that is doing the temperature shock. So temperature shock will actually stop it from happening. But at the same time, I'm struggling to see sort of the use almost. The use is obvious, healing yourself. But this wouldn't be. I think it's a combination of it being probably, well, not that it's difficult to do, but it's not really enough to make it worth using in the situations where you would want to use it. This is really just good for passively healing. Every grunt you come across, you just do this to them if you're not on full health. I wouldn't really see it having any other utility. I mean, I guess in if you're surrounded, well,
it's just
then you've got heat radiance, and you could probably do something with it. But it's not like the wave cooker does more damage to on-fire enemies. And if you use exothermic reactor, you're not going to get as much health as you probably need in that situation where you're surrounded. And it feels a little bit awkward, but at the same time, you probably couldn't increase how much it gives you either.
Yeah, well, it is just to honestly, my main, because I taught myself into it, which I and act like I don't know nobody. But when I was making this, I was like, how am I not pulling a Harry right now? Because this is clearly rule-defying, game-defying mechanic. Well, not really mechanic, but a gun that heals you. That's not a thing. How can I justify the absurdity of this? And then I kind of realized that
I remember saying something. About when I first saw this, I remember saying I think I'd actually like it if it made the enemies drop meat that acted like red sugar, but nowhere near as strong.
Yeah,
And if it was, but if you could still get a little bit more than 2 health,
it
but
would
you'd have
also
to go and pick up
the issue
result.
is that would then heal your teammate, and that would then be the healer class.
Yes,
which is
then it would have a very substantial use. But you would obviously you would want to balance it in a way where it's not like the only thing you should ever do with the wave cooker, but you still want it to have a genuine like standout use, because that's what I think stands out about wave cooker, is that a lot of its overclocks have they form what the weapon's function is, and I don't want it to be sort of mediocre. You kind of got to go hard.
No, this is going hard, right? Because
inherently, yeah, kind of.
Generally, it's already at the thing where this is the only gun in the game that will heal you on kill, right? Or it's the only gun in the game that will heal you, right? I think that's the thing. Like, so far we've only got things that damage you, like the Drac, like shield breaker, but like this is already riding that line, and I can only justify it mentally. Or physically now, or audibly. Point is, I can only justify it because Driller being a vampire tank is not like an obscure thing, or like everyone has access to vampire, but it is a fact that I think, if anything, Deep Rock has coded into the game on purpose that Driller is just built for having vampire and gaining health from being, killing, and so I can justifiably give a weapon like this to Driller, right? Like, it's within his range of his character definition that he would have access to healing on killing. Like, everyone can, but he is more leaning towards it. But if he then started healing others, that's crossing a line. That is now him turning into the 5th class with just one unstable overclock for one of his guns.
You're right, but that's not why I suggested that. I suggested that because I think one of the best ways to balance this would be that it's not actually remotely transferring health. It's still a long-range way of acquiring health, but at the same time, you can't really set enemies on fire from that long range. And
then it shouldn't be used at that rate.
It's not literally like a long-range vampire.
Well, that's the other thing, is because, once again, the on-fire part isn't set in stone. Maybe.
Well, I think it could be. I think it could be, to be honest, because only because volatile bullets exist as an overclock.
Yeah.
Because I think volatile bullets for the Bulldog, I think it's the only overclock where it's really restricts itself to one stat effect to make it useful, because you've got the wave cookers, like tier 5 upgrades, they really rely on specific weapons, but you have 3 to choose from. The overclock slot is, well, yeah, I suppose it is kind of the same thing, actually. So it's actually fine for it to only work with the flamethrower.
Yeah.
Even though I'd argue that the flamethrower is probably, maybe not the flamethrower. I would say that the cryo cannon is the least useful with the wave cooker. So leaving it in the dust a bit further feels a bit odd to me, because, and I say that because I think the temperature shock build feels worse with it, and obviously the sludge pump synergy is very explicit, and I think the temperature shock stuff just feels better for the flamethrower. So my wish would be something, honestly, like a cryo specific overclock, but I guess we're stuck with this.
Yeah, I'm really not fond that I'm leaning towards the flamethrower. Like, I don't want to give a thing that I definitely want to use to the flamethrower, but it just feels the most right, and it's kind of sad.
Yeah, it would also be something where you wouldn't obviously use temperature shock with the flamethrower, but it would need to be strong enough to compensate.
Harry, there is actually something, because realistically, if we were to first of all rename it the microwave meal, you wouldn't microwave something that's on fire, but you would microwave something that's frozen.
Yeah, you would, exactly.
Yeah.
There you go.
Microwave meal. If you kill an enemy and you have to kill it, which does it doesn't gain damage boost, does it? Because it's not kinetic damage, or is it?
No, it's not kinetic damage. No.
Yeah. So maybe I'm looking more towards maybe actually giving you 5 health per, because you're not gaining the cryo boost, you're not temperature shocking. It's going to be a very awkward, terrible way of using the weapon. It'll be horrendous at killing, yet you will heal from it. Like, yeah, I think there's something there.
There definitely is.
I could only pitch this for a driller secondary. I would never do it for anyone else, because he is just the only one with a precedent for leaning towards self-healing.
Maybe I should do that for the final pitch. Microwave meal.
I don't know if you're as happy with it as I am. But
No, I like
kind of
that.
Into place.
I like that quite a bit, to be honest. And then it's
honestly,
even further like specific. You now have the option to heal from close range or long range while using the cryo cannon. And
yeah,
to be honest,
which also would then
I don't
kind of
think
lean
it's that
the
broken
long range. Wait, oh no, wait. I just made up an overclock that I think I made with the long range turbine on the cryo cannon. That's not actually a thing, is it? There's no.
You can
range.
increase its range with a mod.
Yeah.
But
Which I guess it would encourage using that.
Yeah, it would as well. Yeah, that's nice too. I like when overclocks do that, when they encourage using certain mods. I mean, especially on other weapons, that doesn't really happen. I mean,
yeah,
except with like the gunner fire builds. So, yeah. Well, there you go.
And honestly, also, I think negative wise, I think that's pretty solid. Maybe a bit more shot width reduction, because I really do want it to kind of suck killing things, without inherently reducing its damage, because if that's too much, the colour does not need a damage.
Well, no, not enough damage. But I was thinking, really, especially when you're only like the beam width is so thin, you're never going to be hitting one enemy at a time.
Yeah.
And it's pretty slow. Like, you're not going to do much damage by just freezing them. And then you're not going to be doing much damage while hitting them. I mean, there is that mod, obviously, that keeps them frozen. So that would be useful there. But I'm thinking maybe even a small damage bonus against frozen enemies could be in order. Could be.
Maybe.
Either way,
we'll
getting
it down.
We should probably wrap this up.
Yeah. And that is the end of Driller.
That's the end of Driller.
Yeah, game over. Bye, Driller. Nice knowing you. Go bed buys now.
I eat rocks for breakfast. So yeah, that was the Overclock Workshop on the Wave Cooker. One of our better ones, actually. One of our better ones recently. And obviously next time, it's everyone's favourite objectively weak weapon.
That people still fight.
What?
People still fight for it, saying, no, it's not. No, it's fine. And then everyone's like, no, it is. Like,
yeah, we'll talk about it, because I've got to go. We'll talk about it.
Au revoir.
Right, like and subscribe, everyone. Rock and stone.